The Galactic Arena was alive with light and fire, thousands of banners hanging in the air, each glowing with the colors of a different world. The stands were filled with billions of voices, roaring, chanting, screaming for the battles to begin. The sound was so loud that even the steel floor of the arena seemed to tremble under the weight of the noise. It was a place of glory and death, where the strongest of every species came to fight, where champions became legends, and where losers became stains on the sand. The night was special. The crowd knew it. The arena masters had promised something different, something shocking, and every eye, every screen across the galaxy was waiting to see it. The massive gates of the arena stood closed, guarded by armored soldiers, glowing in red light, and when the signal came, the gates began to rise with the slow, grinding sound of ancient metal, and the air grew still, the silence heavy, for everyone wanted to see the first challenger step into the ring. From the left gate came a creature of fire, its body huge and black, skin like cracked stone glowing with lava from within, each step leaving molten scars in the sand, its claws sharp as blades, its eyes burning like suns. It opened its jaws and roared, and flames poured from its throat. The crowd answered with screams of excitement. This was the champion of the burning worlds, a beast that had never known defeat, its name feared across systems, its victories sung in war songs. The right gate, however, opened with a softer sound, and what walked out made the entire arena fall into confusion, for it was small, striped, and low to the ground, its fur rough, its body short, its face sharp and almost plain. It was what the humans called a honey badger. The crowd stared. Some laughed. Others shouted in anger. Many believed it was an insult, a trick, a mockery of the sacred battles. The arena was for warriors, not for small crawling animals. The honey badger stood in the sand, its nose twitching, its small black eyes glancing left and right, not with fear, but with something else, something sharper, the kind of gaze that did not belong to prey, the kind of gaze that promised pain. It moved with no rush, no hesitation, and when it looked at the massive lava beast across from it, there was no fear in its body, no tremble, no weakness, only a cold readiness. The crowd erupted again, some booing, some cheering, some shouting and laughter. The aliens could not agree on what they were seeing. Some demanded the humans explain themselves. Others wanted the match canceled. But the rules of the arena were clear. Once both gates opened and both fighters stood on the sand, the fight had to begin, no matter the size, no matter the form. And so the masters gave the signal. The drums of the arena thundered. The battle was set. The lava beast roared again, louder than before. The ground shook as it charged forward, flames bursting from its mouth, claws tearing through the air. The crowd leaned forward with hungry eyes, waiting to see the small creature crushed in one strike. But the honey badger did not move. It did not run. It did not cower. It stood its ground as if the monster charging at it was nothing more than a shadow. Then at the last second it lunged, faster than the beast, faster than the crowd could follow, and its claws dug deep into the burning flesh beneath the monster's chest. The arena gasped. Billions of voices cut into silence. The beast screamed in pain, thrashing, trying to shake the creature off. But the honey badger held on, biting, tearing, ripping with endless fury, its body small but its strength unbroken, its rage like a storm. The sand turned black with blood and molten fire. The beast stumbled, roared again, swung its claws. But still the badger clung, fearless, unshaken, unstoppable. The guards watched, the masters froze. Even the humans in their quiet seats gave no sound, no cheer, no smile, only calm, as if this was exactly what they had expected, as if they had seen this before. The arena tried to breathe, but the air was heavy with the madness of the fight. The beast fell once, then rose, then fell again, the honey badger never letting go, never giving space, until finally the giant collapsed fully, its fire dimming, its strength gone, its roar fading into silence. And when the monster stopped moving, when the sand grew quiet, the honey badger released its hold, stood over the body, its fur burned, its body bleeding, but its eyes still sharp, still alive. It raised its head and hissed, a sound that echoed across the arena like thunder. And for the first time in living memory, the great galactic arena fell completely silent. No cheers, no laughter, no shouts, only silence. Because the galaxy had just witnessed something it did not understand, something it feared, and though the match had ended, the true story had only begun. The crowd had not forgotten the first fight. Whispers filled the air of the arena even days later. The story spread faster than fire through dry grass, across spaceports, across markets, across great ships that drifted between stars, and every whisper carried the same shock, the same question. Why did the humans send such a creature? Why did they send a beast so small yet so fearless, so merciless, so different from what the galaxy knew as a warrior? The arena was built on a simple law. Each species had the right to send its strongest, its bravest, its most deadly. The arena was a test of supremacy, a test of pride, a stage where reputations were carved into stone and blood. And so, when the humans were invited, many expected them to decline. They were newcomers to the greater councils. Their fleets were small, their colonies young, their voice in the halls of power still fragile. Yet they had accepted without hesitation, and their choice of fighter had left the galaxy shaken. The arena masters gathered in secret chambers, tall beings of bone and shell, scaled giants with glowing eyes, winged lords who spoke with voices like thunder, and all of them demanded to know the reason behind the human choice. They demanded to know why the humans had insulted tradition with something that was not even sentient, not even armed, not even armored, a mere animal from their homeworld, a beast of the soil and burrows, yet a beast that had slain one of the most feared champions of the arena. The humans gave no answer in words. They only looked back with calm faces, their silence heavier than any roar, their eyes steady, as if they were holding a secret too vast for others to grasp. And that silence was more terrifying than any speech, for silence could not be measured. Silence could not be predicted. Silence was the language of confidence. To understand the choice, one had to understand the honey badger, a creature born in the wild plains of Earth, small yet built with unyielding muscle, armed not with size, but with a heart that never accepted defeat, a predator that did not recognize fear, a scavenger that would fight lions, a beast that would dig into snake nests and feast on venomous flesh, its skin thick enough to resist claws and fangs, its spirit too wild to ever surrender. It was not the strongest of Earth, nor the largest. Yet in the eyes of humans, it was the purest reflection of defiance, the spirit that never bowed, the spark that never died. When the humans first spoke of their world to the councils, they told tales of vast oceans, towering mountains, frozen wastes, forests thick with shadows, deserts burning under two suns. They told tales of predators and prey locked in endless war for survival. They told of creatures that hid in the dark and creatures that walked openly with pride. And every listener thought these were stories meant to impress, stories meant to boast. But the honey badger was proof that Earth was not a cradle of weakness, but a forge of madness and strength. The arena demanded warriors who represented the core of a people, and the honey badger was chosen not for its size, but for its message. It was chosen to show the galaxy a truth the humans had carried for ages. That size was nothing. Fear was nothing. Pain was nothing. Surrender was nothing. Survival belonged not to the largest or the strongest, but to the one who refused to give up, the one who refused to kneel, the one who fought until the universe itself gave way. The galaxy could not understand such thinking, for most species raised champions bred in labs, designed in hives, trained in rituals of blood and steel, creatures of perfection molded for the arena. Yet the humans had reached into the dirt of their homeworld, pulled out a striped beast that dug holes and raided hives, and had unleashed it before billions, not to entertain but to reveal, not to joke but to warn. After the first victory, other species challenged the humans openly. They accused them of dishonor. They accused them of mocking the sacred games. They accused them of breaking the spirit of the arena. Yet their anger was laced with fear, because none could erase the image of a beast too small to matter, standing over the broken body of a giant, bleeding, burning, yet alive, hissing into silence. And every heart that saw it knew that what had fallen was not just a fighter but an illusion. The illusion that size alone commanded survival. The second fight was arranged quickly, for the arena masters demanded proof. They believed the first victory had been chance, a mistake, an accident of fate, and so another champion was called forth. This one from the gas giants, a creature with skin like crystal, legs like spears, and a body that could split stone. Yet once again the honey badger did not run. It did not fear. It clung to its foe, ripping, tearing, biting through joints. And once again the crowd fell into silence as the giant collapsed under the weight of something it had never known, relentless defiance. By then the whispers became louder. The whispers became warnings, and the other species began to see beyond the small beast. They began to look at the humans themselves. They began to wonder if perhaps this was no accident, if perhaps this was a mirror held up to the galaxy. A mirror showing that humanity itself was the honey badger, small compared to the great empires, weak compared to the ancient fleets, yet unyielding, fearless, and impossible to put down. The humans never claimed victory. They never raised banners. They never shouted for glory. They sat in their quiet seats, watching, waiting, as if all of this was only the first step in something greater, and that calm unsettled the galaxy more than any scream. For warriors who went off and cheer, but warriors who sit in silence, warriors who act as if victory is expected. Those are the warriors the galaxy fears most. The arena was supposed to test the strength of the body, but the honey badger revealed something else. It revealed the strength of spirit. It revealed the truth that even the smallest could change the fate of the largest. It revealed that humans had not come to play games. They had come to teach. They had come to warn. And every being who watched began to realize the same thought. If the humans sent their smallest and it conquered giants, what would happen if they sent themselves? In the dim corridors of the arena, as the crowds left in uneasy silence, the master spoke again in hushed voices. Some demanded the banning of the creatures. Some demanded punishment for the humans. Others whispered that perhaps it was already too late, for the galaxy had already seen, and once seen the truth could not be unseen. The truth that humanity was not weak. The truth that humanity was not afraid. The truth that humanity was willing to unleash even the smallest spark to burn down mountains. The honey badger became more than a fighter. It became a symbol, a shadow that haunted the councils, a story that parents told their children in fear and awe. And though the arena burned with countless more battles, none carried the same weight, none carried the same terror, none carried the same warning as the sight of that small striped beast standing unbroken against giants. And so the galaxy waited for the humans to make their next move, waited with fear hidden behind masks of pride, waited with trembling hearts, because the question no one could silence was growing louder with every whisper. If this is what their animal can do, what will happen when the humans themselves step into the arena? The arena was not the same after the first two battles. The laughter was gone. The cheers were not as loud, and the chants of glory had been replaced with murmurs of fear. Billions of eyes still turned to the arena each night, but no longer did they come for entertainment. They came for something else. They came to see if the madness of humans would ever end, or if the nightmare would continue. And the nightmare did continue, for the arena masters refused to surrender. They refused to believe that a small beast could keep humiliating their champions. They believed that with the right choice of opponent, the streak would break. That night the torches of the arena burned brighter than ever, as if to burn away the shadows of fear that clung to the walls, and the drums beat harder, echoing through the metal bones of the colossal structure. The crowd gathered once again, and though many shouted and roared, their voices carried no joy. They carried only hunger. Hunger for proof that the arena was not broken. Hunger for reassurance that the champions of the galaxy still stood above all. Hunger for the silence to end. The gates opened, and out came a creature bred not in nature, but in laboratories of war. A beast of muscle and bone, for legs thicker than tree trunks. A maw lined with teeth sharper than steel, and eyes that glowed red with rage that was not its own but forced into its blood by those who had made it. It was the terror of the frost moons. A beast known as the Rastor, a killer whose breath froze the air around it, and its roars had torn apart soldiers before they could even fire their weapons. The ground cracked as it walked. The crowd trembled at its very steps, and for a moment hope returned to the arena. Hope that this would finally end the human madness. From the other gate came the honey badger, small, striped, quiet, walking with no fear, its body still scarred from the last battle, fur burned, skin torn, yet its eyes the same as before, black and unblinking, sharp and merciless. It did not roar. It did not growl. It only walked to the center of the arena, as if it owned the sand, as if it had been born not in burrows of earth, but in the very heart of war itself. And the crowd once again broke into chaos, some shouting in anger, others chanting for blood, some begging for the fight to be stopped before it began. The drums thundered, the horns called, and the battle began. The Rastor roared with a sound like mountains breaking apart, its breath turning the air to frost. The honey badger did not flinch. It did not step back. It charged forward with a speed that seemed impossible for its size, its claws digging into the frozen sand, its jaws opening wide. And when the two met, the arena shook like a world struck by meteors. The Rastor swung its massive claws, each as long as a sword, and the honey badger flew into the air with the strike. But it twisted, landed on its feet, and leapt forward again without pause, its teeth sinking into the soft joint between the beast's armored scales. The Rastor screamed and thrashed, its body smashing into the arena floor, sending shards of ice into the stands. Guards raised their shields to protect the front rows, but the honey badger did not let go. It bit, it tore it, ripped with fury that had no end. The beast rolled, crushing the small body beneath its weight. The crowd gasped, certain that it was over. But then from beneath the massive bulk, claws slashed upward, tearing through muscle. The honey badger crawled out covered in blood and frost, its body bent, bones broken, yet it moved without slowing, without hesitation. It leapt again for the throat, its jaws finding flesh, tearing it open, and the Rastor screamed louder, its voice cracking into desperation. The fight raged like a storm, the beast striking again and again, each blow enough to kill anything else. But the honey badger refused to die, every strike only feeding its rage, every wound only sharpening its fury. The sand turned red, the air filled with steam from the beast's freezing breath mixing with the boiling blood. The crowd could not look away. They could not blink, for they were watching something that defied the laws of battle, something that shattered everything they believed about strength. At last the honey badger climbed onto the beast's head, its claws digging into the skull, its jaws locking around the eye, ripping it out with a spray of blood and frost. The Rastor stumbled, screamed, and fell to its knees. The arena shook with the impact. Yet still the honey badger did not stop. It clawed into the socket, deeper and deeper, until it reached the brain, and with one final bite, the great champion of the frost moons collapsed lifeless onto the sand. The arena was silent, utterly silent. The beast lay still, its body larger than ships, its strength greater than armies, and it had fallen to something smaller than a child's pet. The honey badger stood on its head, bleeding, trembling, yet alive, hissing into the air as if daring the galaxy to send another, as if daring the stars themselves to challenge it. And in that silence the truth settled heavier than iron, the truth that the humans had not sent a mistake. They had not sent a joke, they had sent a weapon disguised as an animal, a mirror of their own spirit, unyielding, unstoppable, unwilling to ever surrender. The masters of the arena sat frozen in their high seats, their claws tight around their staffs, their wings folded, their shells cracking under the pressure of fear, for they understood at last. The humans were not mocking the arena. They were not breaking the rules. They were teaching. They were showing the galaxy the kind of war humanity carried in its blood. And if their smallest beast could kill the greatest monsters of other worlds, then what would their armies do? What would their soldiers do? What would their fleets do? The crowd began to whisper, voices shaking, some in awe, some in terror, and some in fury, but all of them carrying the same unspoken truth. The honey badger had become more than an animal. It had become a story, a legend, a nightmare that would be told across stars, and the humans had become more than newcomers. They had become the shadow that haunted every council, the name that trembled on every tongue, the storm that the galaxy had invited into its games, without realizing it had opened the gates to something far greater. And so the third victory was written into the bloodstained sand of the arena. And though the masters tried to hide their fear behind ceremony, though the announcers tried to speak with pride, though the champions yet to fight waited with claws and blades, the silence of the crowd remained louder than any cheer. For deep in every mind, a single thought grew like fire, the thought that nothing in the galaxy could ever again be called safe, not while humans walked among the stars, not while they carried the spirit of the honey badger with them. The galaxy was vast, filled with billions of worlds, each with its own beasts, its own warriors, its own stories of glory and strength. Yet after the third battle of the honey badger in the Galactic Arena, all those stories began to fade, for every song of victory, every tale of courage, every legend of a champion was now measured against a small striped creature from Earth, and none could compare, none could stand equal, for the honey badger had torn apart monsters greater than cities, had fought through fire and frost, had risen again and again when any other would have fallen, and that truth spread faster than light itself. Across the trading routes of the spiral arms, merchants whispered of the beast, their voices low as if the sound alone might summon it. In the frozen colonies, miners carved its shape into ice as a symbol of defiance. In the palaces of rulers, its name was spoken with fear. And in the hidden corners of the galaxy where soldiers gathered, where mercenaries drank and told tales, none dared laugh at humans anymore, for they all remembered the silence of the arena when the honey badger stood on the corpses of giants, bleeding yet alive, hissing into the void as if daring the stars to strike again. The councils of the elder species met in secret, their great halls lit with cold fire, their voices heavy with worry. They had thought of humans as children, newcomers, fragile and harmless. Yet the choice of the honey badger had shattered that illusion. It showed not weakness, but something far worse. It showed calculation. It showed patience. It showed a mind that chose not its strongest, nor its largest, but its most relentless, a creature that embodied the very spirit of survival. And the councils feared what it meant. They feared what humanity was hiding behind its silence. The arena masters tried to reclaim control. They announced greater fights, larger champions, more terrible monsters. They promised the crowds that the streak of the honey badger would end. But the fear did not vanish. It only grew. For every new challenger that stepped into the sand met the same fate, ripped apart, torn down, crushed not by size, but by fury. And each death carved the legend deeper, until even the guards who stood at the gates trembled when the striped creature passed by. Even the announcers who once laughed now spoke its name with respect. On the distant worlds of the winged Korthai, priests preached warnings of the humans, calling them children of chaos, declaring the honey badger as a sign, a beast sent to show that Earth was a world where life refused to kneel before the universe itself. On the ocean worlds of the Verne, the songs of sailors changed. No longer did they sing of whales that crushed ships. Now they sang of the small beast that crushed titans. And among the warlords of the Iron Clans, who once mocked humanity as weak, silence ruled their halls, for none dared boast of strength when even their best champions would not enter the arena against the humans again. Fear spread not just among rulers, but among common folk. Children whispered of the badger as a shadow that hunted nightmares. Traders painted its stripes on their ships for luck. Slaves in the dark mines spoke of it as a spirit of rebellion, and everywhere the same thought grew. If this was only an animal, what then were the humans themselves? If this was the smallest of their warriors, what then were their armies, their fleets, their true champions? The question lingered heavier than any weapon, and no one dared answer. In military academies across the stars, instructors rewrote their lessons. They taught that size was not victory. They taught that fear was not defeat. They spoke of the honey badger as an example of persistence beyond reason, and cadets listened with uneasy eyes, for they knew the lesson was not truly about the animal. It was about the humans. It was about the people who had chosen such a creature to stand for them, and who watched in silence as their message spread, never boasting, never bragging, only watching as if everything was unfolding exactly as they had planned. Even the pirates of the Outer Rims, cruel and wild, painted crude images of the honey badger on their banners, for they believed it was a spirit of terror that could not be killed, a blessing of survival in endless wars. And the story grew twisted, some saying the humans had bred it in secret, some saying it was no mere animal, but a weapon crafted by Earth itself, some saying it was the soul of humanity made flesh. And though the stories were false, they carried the same truth, that the honey badger was no longer just a beast. It was a warning, a shadow, a symbol. The arena continued its blood games, but the laughter was gone. The joy of battle turned into dread. Every time the gates opened and the small striped form walked into the sand, the crowd leaned forward not to cheer, but to hold its breath. for they knew what would come. They knew that no matter the size of the opponent, no matter the claws, the armor, the fire, the frost, the honey badger would not yield. It would not flee. It would not die until the giant before it lay broken. And when the battle ended, when the hiss echoed again, silence always returned, silence heavier than stone. Among the humans themselves there was no pride shown, no speeches, no banners of triumph. They sat in their quiet seats. They watched with calm faces, and their silence spoke louder than victory cries. It told the galaxy that this was only the beginning, that the honey badger was only a glimpse of what they could unleash, and that message struck fear deeper than any wound, for the galaxy had known conquerors before, had known tyrants, had known empires that ruled with fire, but never had they known a people who fought not for glory, not for wealth, not for sport, but for survival itself, survival at any cost, survival that never bent, never broke, never ended. The fear spread into dreams, into nightmares, into the very culture of the stars. Statues of the beast appeared in black markets, its image carved on coins and weapons, its story told in whispers across stations drifting in endless dark. And with each retelling the legend grew larger, until even those who had never seen the arena believed it, until even those who lived on the edge of the galaxy spoke of the honey badger with trembling voices, as if it could tear through the walls of space itself. And so the galaxy changed, not with fleets, not with fire, not with war, but with the small striped form of a creature from Earth, and with the silence of the humans who had unleashed it, a silence that weighed heavier than armies, a silence that promised something far worse than battles in the arena. It promised that the humans were patient, that they were watching, that they were waiting, and that when the time came, the galaxy would not be ready. The honey badger had become a story told in every corner of the stars, a story that carried not laughter but fear, a story that reminded all who heard it that humanity was not weak, that humanity was not harmless, that humanity had chosen not the largest nor the strongest, but the one that could not be broken, and by doing so had shown the galaxy a truth too heavy to bear, the truth that fear itself had changed sides. No longer did humans fear the galaxy. Now the galaxy feared the humans. The arena was restless. The masters who ruled it were growing desperate. Their power had always come from control, from the certainty that no matter the battle the outcome was clear. Champions rose and champions fell, but always in ways that served the games. But the humans had broken that balance. They had brought not a warrior of their kind, but a beast so relentless that every rule seemed meaningless, and the galaxy was no longer entertained. It was afraid. So the masters decided that if one challenger could not break the streak, then many together would surely succeed. The night of the next trial was darker than before. Clouds of ash hung heavy above the arena. Fires burned brighter. Drums beat louder. Banners shook as if the very air trembled with unease. And when the gates opened, not one but 3 creatures stepped out, champions from 3 different worlds. One was a scaled brute with arms thicker than pillars, another a creature with wings of blades that cut the air with each beat, the last a crawler of shadows that oozed poison from its skin. They had been promised honor for ending the nightmare. They had been promised freedom from the fear that spread like disease. From the other side came the honey badger, scarred, bleeding from past battles, yet walking with the same slow defiance, the same unblinking eyes, the same calm rage that had unsettled the galaxy. It did not roar. It did not pause. It did not even acknowledge the 3 giants that now faced it. It simply moved forward, nose twitching, claws ready, as if to say nothing mattered, nothing could break its will. And the crowd, though massive, sat with breath held, for they knew what was about to happen would not be sport, it would be slaughter. The signal came, the drums roared, and the 3 monsters charged. The scaled brute swung first, claws tearing the sand, but the honey badger ducked low, biting deep into the leg joint, flesh and bone snapping. The brute screamed and stumbled. The winged creature slashed from above, blades cutting through the air, but the badger twisted, blood spraying from a torn flank. Yet it leapt again, clamping onto the wing, ripping it apart with raw fury. The shadow crawler hissed and spewed poison, but the beast rolled through the burning acid, its fur sizzling, its skin blistering, yet still it clawed forward, jaws locking on the throat. The crowd gasped, some screaming, some weeping, for the honey badger should have died 10 times already. Yet it refused to fall. Every strike only fueled its madness. Every wound only deepened its rage. And soon the scaled brute lay still, throat torn. The winged beast thrashed with broken wings, the crawler's poison dripping uselessly as its body was ripped open. And in the center of the carnage stood the striped creature, blood dripping, body shaking, but still alive, still hissing, still daring the galaxy to try again. The masters of the arena were shaken. Their plan had failed, yet they refused to accept it. They demanded more. They demanded machines, for if beasts of flesh could not win, then perhaps the cold steel of war would succeed. And so they brought forth mechanical war drones, each built for killing, each armed with blades, spikes, and energy fire, machines that knew no fear, machines that could not bleed, and they unleashed them in swarms, filling the arena floor with flashing steel and burning light. The honey badger faced them without pause, leaping into the swarm, claws tearing through wires, jaws ripping out cores, machines shattered and sparked, their bodies falling in pieces around it. Sparks rained across the sand. Smoke filled the air. The creature burned and bled, yet kept moving, tearing, biting, never stopping, never yielding, until the swarm that could have killed armies was nothing more than wreckage smoking beneath its feet. The crowd was silent once more, silence heavier than any roar, silence that carried fear into every corner of the galaxy. For the lesson was no longer about chance, no longer about accidents. It was proof, undeniable proof, that the honey badger could not be broken, not by size, not by numbers, not by machines, not by poison, not by fire, not by frost. Nothing could end its fury until its enemies were dead, and the humans who had unleashed it sat silent still, calm and patient, as if everything was unfolding exactly as they had known. Fear turned into anger among the councils. Rulers shouted in their chambers, demanding bans, demanding punishment, demanding that humanity be expelled from the arena. But others argued that it was too late. The damage was already done. The galaxy had seen. The galaxy had learned. And the story could not be erased. Children whispered of the honey badger as a spirit of war. Soldiers painted its image on their armor. Traders carried its stripes as charms. Even slaves in chains spoke of it as a symbol of defiance. And the humans only watched as their legend grew beyond control. The arena masters tried again and again, beasts larger than ships, swarms greater than storms, weapons that could tear through walls. Yet every time the honey badger fought, every time it bled, and every time it won, until even the guards refused to open the gates, until even the announcers spoke its name with trembling voices, until even the most fearless champions began to vanish, unwilling to face the monster that never died, unwilling to stand against the silence of the humans who sent it. The experiment had escalated beyond control. What began as sport had turned into horror. What began as laughter had turned into legend. The arena was no longer the greatest stage of war. It was the stage where humanity revealed its truth. The truth that survival was their weapon. The truth that defiance was their shield. The truth that no matter the odds they would not break. They would not bend. They would not surrender. And the galaxy understood that the honey badger was not just an animal. It was the spirit of Earth itself, unleashed as a warning to all who watched. The final battles of that season ended in silence. No cheers, no chants. Only the endless hiss of the small striped beast, standing bloodied over the ruins of giants and machines alike, its eyes unblinking, its body scarred, yet its will unbroken. And the humans rose from their seats at last, not to shout, not to celebrate, but to leave quietly, their silence as heavy as thunder, their message clear without words, a message that spread through the stars, whispered in every tongue, carved into every memory, the message that the galaxy had mocked humanity, and now the galaxy feared humanity. And so the experiment that was meant to break the honey badger only broke the arena itself. It broke the illusion of control. It broke the pride of empires. It broke the laughter of crowds, leaving only silence, leaving only fear, leaving only the growing shadow of humans who had shown their spirit in the smallest of their creatures. And that shadow now stretched across the stars, waiting, patient, unstoppable. The arena had become a place of dread rather than glory. The masters who once controlled the games could feel the weight of fear pressing on their shoulders, for every battle that followed only fed the legend of the honey badger. Every beast that fell only deepened the silence. Every machine that broke only widened the shadow of humanity. And still the humans remained quiet, watching without expression, their calm more terrifying than any roar of victory. So the masters made a decision. One final match. One last attempt to end the nightmare before it consumed them all. The announcement spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The final test, the ultimate challenge, the greatest trial the arena had ever seen. Billions flocked to see it. Billions more tuned in from worlds across the stars, and the anticipation was not filled with joy, but with terror. The people wanted answers. They wanted to know if anything could stand against a creature from Earth, or if the arena was truly broken forever. On the night of the match, the arena blazed with fire and lightning. Banners crackled with energy. Drums thundered louder than storms, and the gates stood closed as the masters prepared their final weapon, for they had chosen not flesh, not bone, but machines built by the greatest engineers of war, an army of war drones forged in the forges of the Iron Worlds, drones with blades sharper than light, armor harder than stone, eyes that glowed with the red fire of programming that knew no mercy, no fear, no hesitation. They were many. They were countless, and together they were meant to be unstoppable. The crowd trembled when the left gate opened. The drones poured out like a flood, their footsteps shaking the arena floor, their bodies gleaming with deadly steel, their weapons humming with burning power, their eyes glowing in unison as they formed ranks like a disciplined army. And the sight alone filled many with hope, for surely even the honey badger could not stand against an army that never tired, that never bled, that never felt fear. The right gate opened, and the honey badger stepped into the sand once more, its fur torn, its scars countless, its body bearing the marks of every battle it had fought, yet its eyes still sharp, still merciless, still alive with that strange unyielding fury. It did not pause. It did not roar. It only moved forward, claws digging into the ground, nose twitching, and the arena once again held its breath, for this was no longer sport. This was war. The drums fell silent, the horns gave their call, and the swarm of machines charged, their blades flashing, their weapons firing beams of searing energy. The arena floor shook as the swarm engulfed the striped creature, and for a moment the crowd believed it was over, that the storm of steel would finally bury the nightmare. But then sparks burst high into the air, metal tore, circuits screamed, and the honey badger leapt from the wreckage of the first wave, its claws dripping with oil, its jaws carrying the broken core of a drone, its hiss echoing like thunder. The machines closed in again, dozens striking from all sides, their blades cutting, their weapons burning. Yet the honey badger moved like fury given form. It leapt, it bit, it clawed, tearing through wires and steel, ripping out eyes that glowed with fire, shredding armor with teeth that should never have pierced metal, but did. The sand filled with smoke and sparks, the arena lit with fire, the crowd screaming and silent all at once, unable to believe what they saw, unable to look away. Again and again the swarm struck, again and again the honey badger fell beneath the mass, and again it rose, burned, bleeding, broken, yet alive, tearing and ripping with the same madness, the same rage, until the arena floor was a graveyard of machines, their parts scattered like bones, their lights extinguished, their blades bent and broken, and in the center of it all stood the small striped beast, its fur soaked in blood and oil, its eyes unblinking, its hiss filling the silence of billions. The masters of the arena looked on in horror, their last hope shattered, their final test broken, for the honey badger had not only survived, it had destroyed the greatest army of machines they had ever built. It had shown that even the cold perfection of steel was nothing against will that did not bend, spirit that did not yield, and the silence that followed was heavier than stone, heavier than death, heavier than war itself. The humans rose from their seats, their faces calm as ever, their silence still unbroken, and the message was clear, clearer than words, clearer than banners, clearer than fire. The message that humanity had chosen not to boast, not to laugh, not to gloat, but to warn, to show the galaxy what waited behind their quiet eyes, to reveal that if the smallest of their creatures could break armies, Then humanity itself was something the stars were not ready to face. The arena crowd sat frozen, no cheers, no chants, only fear. And in every heart the same thought grew. If this is their smallest, what will their soldiers be? If this is their beast, what will their fleets be? If this is their warning, what will their war be? And that thought spread faster than light, across markets, across temples, across war councils, until even the oldest empires whispered in the dark of their halls that perhaps the humans should never be tested again. The honey badger stood alone in the arena of silence, surrounded by wreckage, scarred and bloodied, yet alive, unbroken, unyielding. And with one final hiss, it turned its head to the sky, as if speaking not to the crowd, but to the stars themselves, daring the galaxy to send another, daring the universe to try again, daring creation itself to break what could not be broken. And none dared answer, none dared move, none dared speak. And so the final match ended not with victory, not with glory, but with silence, silence deeper than death, silence that carried fear into every corner of the galaxy, silence that told the truth that the arena had been defeated, not by an empire, not by an army, not by a fleet, but by the smallest of creatures chosen by the quietest of humans, and that truth would haunt the stars forever. The arena had fallen into silence heavier than stone. The final match was over. The machines lay broken in piles of twisted steel. The sand was black with oil and blood. The torches burned without cheer. And the crowd sat frozen, billions of eyes staring at the small striped beast that still stood alive in the center, its body scarred, its fur torn, yet its gaze unbroken. And that silence spread beyond the arena, across every world, every council, every station that had watched, until the whole galaxy held its breath. The masters of the arena gathered in secret chambers, their bodies trembling though they hid it beneath robes of authority, their voices sharp with fear though they tried to speak with power. They argued, they shouted, they demanded answers. Some said the honey badger must be outlawed at once. Some said the humans must be punished. Some said the arena itself should be closed, for it had lost all meaning. But none could deny the truth. None could erase what had been seen. None could silence the story now carried by billions. The councils of the elder species were no different. They met in grand halls of crystal and stone. They lit fires that burned blue with ritual. They spoke in languages older than human memory. And yet their words were the same. Fear, confusion, anger, desperation, all circling the same question. What did the humans mean? What was their silence hiding? Why had they chosen the honey badger? Why had they watched so calmly as it destroyed everything the arena sent against it? And the answer none wished to say was the one they all feared, that the humans were not showing off. They were warning. The vote came swiftly, faster than any decision the arena had ever made in centuries. The honey badger was banned, outlawed, forbidden from ever stepping into the sand again. Its very presence declared a danger to the stability of the games, its existence deemed a violation of the spirit of the arena. But though the masters thought this would bring order, the galaxy only trembled more, for they all understood the truth. Banning the honey badger was not victory. Banning it was surrender. It was admission that nothing could stand against it, and that made the silence of humanity heavier than ever. The humans gave no protest, no complaint. They accepted the ban with calm faces. They did not argue. They did not fight. They only nodded as if they had expected it, as if the outcome had been written from the beginning. And then they left the councils, their ships rising from the arena world into the dark of space, carrying with them the striped beast and the silence that haunted billions. And in their absence the whispers grew louder, whispers that the ban was not the end, whispers that the ban was only the beginning. Across the markets of the Outer Rim, traders sold carvings of the honey badger as tokens of luck. Across the war camps of mercenary soldiers painted its stripes on their armor. Across the temples of ancient faiths, priests spoke of it as a spirit of defiance. And among the rulers of great empires, paranoia grew like fire. Fleets were ordered to patrol borders more tightly. Armies were trained with harsher drills. Spies were sent to learn more about Earth. Yet none returned with comfort, for everything they found only deepened the fear. A world of predators, a world of storms, a world where survival was not a game but a law. The story of the arena spread into legends, told in whispers in the dark, sung by sailors in the void, carved into the walls of prisons. A story of a creature too small to matter, yet too fierce to be defeated. A story of a people who chose it not as a joke, but as a message that survival was their weapon, that defiance was their shield, that surrender was a word they had forgotten. And every retelling added to the weight of the warning that humanity had not come to entertain. Humanity had come to endure, to resist, to outlast. The band did not erase the fear, it deepened it. For now the galaxy asked what the humans would choose next. If their smallest beast was too dangerous for the arena, what would their soldiers be? What would their fleets unleash? What kind of fire hid behind their calm silence? And the thought of it made even the most powerful rulers lose sleep, made even the most ruthless warlords hesitate, made even the oldest empires tremble in their halls of stone and light. In the following cycles the arena struggled to regain its glory. Beasts still fought, blood still spilled, champions still roared, but the shadow of the honey badger lingered over every match. The crowds compared every fighter to it, and none measured up. None carried the same terror. None carried the same legend, and though the masters shouted of honor and tradition, the people only remembered the hiss, the blood, the silence, and the warning. The humans returned to their quiet worlds, but their silence carried further than fleets. Their silence became the echo of fear in the hearts of billions. Their silence became the weight pressing on councils and rulers. Their silence became the voice louder than any roar. And though they spoke little, though they revealed nothing, the galaxy knew what their silence meant. It meant patience. It meant confidence. It meant a storm waiting beyond the horizon, and that knowledge was more terrible than any weapon. The honey badger itself lived on, not just in flesh but in story. It was spoken of as a demon by the fearful, as a hero by the desperate, as a spirit by the faithful, and every version carried the same truth, that the humans had shown the galaxy what could not be broken, what could not be silenced, what could not be defeated, and that truth would never fade, for it had been written in the sand of the greatest arena, in the stars, written in blood, written in silence. The ban was declared as law, but laws could not erase memory. Laws could not erase fear, and the memory of the honey badger was alive in every corner of the galaxy, alive in every whisper, alive in every dream, alive in every warning carved into the minds of those who had seen it. And so the story did not end with the ban. The story only grew. The story of humanity, the story of defiance, the story of survival without end. And in the quiet of their ships, in the silence of their seats, the humans knew the galaxy had understood. The galaxy had received the message. The galaxy had seen their smallest and trembled. And that was enough, for humanity did not need to shout. Humanity did not need to boast. Humanity only needed to show the truth, that if their smallest beast could bring the arena to its knees, then humanity itself would be something the stars could never face, never break, never defeat. Thus the honey badger was outlawed. Thus the arena tried to forget. But the warning lived on, carved into every heart, whispered in every shadow, glowing like fire in the silence of the humans. The warning that the galaxy would never again laugh at Earth. The warning that the galaxy would never again underestimate humanity. The warning that the galaxy had seen the smallest of their creatures. And still it trembled to imagine the day when the humans themselves would rise. And when that day came, nothing in the stars would be ready.